Hi, yeah, so I'm Josh Keeley, the recruitment director here at Trident Search, and I lead on the cyber threat intelligence team. So my experience serving as a Royal Marine, and how does that help me as a recruitment director and a recruitment owner? I think first things first, the soft skills. Going through recruitment training, soft skills, I suppose, and personal qualities are key parts of the development as a recruit. And it's kind of, they try to ingrain those good qualities into you and nurture them throughout the sort of the training phases. And if you look at kind of the negative connotations that come with the recruitment industry, specifically agency side, we're looking at things like trust, accountability, getting back to people when you say you will, honesty, and just being very transparent, I suppose, about what is happening when it's happening through the process. And I like to think that those qualities that were ingrained during my time in the military, I can kind of bring them into the industry, and it's usually the kind of the negative flaws you would tend to find within recruitment agencies. Also, when you want to look at things like resilience, the kind of working hours of, first of all, in the military, you do, obviously everyone knows, you're very sleep deprived most of the time. You work in arduous situations and conditions. And it's not quite as extreme as that, working in an office doing recruitment, but you do long hours, sometimes 14, 16-hour days, because you have targets and goals that you need to meet. And if you are competitive, then chances are you're usually up against someone else in the recruitment process that you don't work with, that you want to find the right candidate for your client. So resilience is, I think, a key part of how my previous background has helped me transfer into this new career. And then lastly, cybersecurity. When we look at the military network within cyber, I think it helps me personally because I think we did a survey recently, and 49% of the industry at sort of hiring manager level and C-suite are ex-military. So I think it helps me build those relationships. We speak to veterans pretty much every day, and we help support and give advice to the military leavers going through resettlement, which typically takes 12 months. And the first piece of advice, I think the best piece of advice, is networking. So a lot of the guys and girls are really good at this, but just to make sure every day, every week, you are jumping on conferences, webinars, asking people for advice, joining groups like what we have, the Waterloo Cyber Club, joining the Tech Vets community, for example. There's many different ex-military communities that now work in technology, not necessarily have to be cybersecurity, but technology focused. So yeah, I suppose get involved and make sure you are networking with as many people as possible. You never know what's going to come of it. You might have to take people out for a beer or a coffee for one thing to come of it, but trust me, it'll be worth it. I think the other piece as well that ties into that is taking on board the advice that you get. So try not to take on board everything, because everyone's got an opinion and everyone thinks they're right, and which ties in as well to your CV. So asking for advice on your CV, I can guarantee you send it to 20 people, you can have 20 different iterations of your CV, because everybody has a different way and a view and an opinion of what what your CV looks like or what it should look like. So just bear that in mind when you are sending your CV out asking for advice. I would advise against paying to have your CV written or created, because there are so many people out there, especially hiring managers, who see many CVs, and recruiters who will do it for free, and they'll give you advice on it. Maybe not writing it from scratch, but they'll help you with the structure, the format, the headings, and where it should and not, well, where it should and shouldn't look like. I think then also, when you are doing that much networking and you're sending your CV out to places, you're probably applying for jobs and having so many conversations, make sure, and it sounds quite old school, but make sure you track everything. So even if you have to keep a spreadsheet, I advise everybody, keep a spreadsheet, dump everything out your head, because you probably think of a million things, and create tabs of conversations, conferences attended, jobs applied for, and just track it all. And then you know also when to follow up on conversations, or if you haven't spoke to me for 3 weeks, it's like, okay, I've got something in my diary to chase Josh in three weeks about the conversation we had previously. So you're tracking everything, and you're staying accountable to your own job search, because it is a job within a job. And then also, just finally, take a cautious approach to the courses and providers and certifications. Like I said before, everyone's going to have an opinion on what best courses to do or what career is best for you. But do your research, speak to people before you do embark and spend your kind of learning credits, which will be super valuable during resettlement. Yeah, because some of the courses are very expensive. So just make sure they are the right ones for you, and they're going to help support your career. And the best way to do that, I think, is speak to people who have done the course. So predominantly, I wanted to, with Charlie, we had this idea where we believed so our mission is to build a data-driven center of excellence. And what we're trying to do, and what we are currently doing, I hope, hopefully somewhat successfully, is mirror what we had in the military. So really high-performing teams that were like almost center of excellences, where you had really good people with values, really good personal qualities, but could also deliver, be accountable, and be super knowledgeable in what they do. So far too often we see it in recruitment, as I mentioned previously, the negative connotations that come along it. It's mainly the soft skills of the recruiters who are working in the industry, as well as some technical kind of lack of knowledge. But if I had to answer this in like kind of one sentence, really, it's to mirror what we had previously in the military of high-performing teams full of good people, and to add so much more value to the industry that is growing. It's exciting to be a part of, and enjoy doing it as well at the same time. So far too often you see the corporate world of recruitment whereby you have like KPIs and you have, which is a really dirty word, depends who you are, but like you have like, you must be in a suit behind your desk at 9 hours a day. And it's just like, you can still have a super high performing team, but not have to be changing your desk all day, and you don't have to wear a suit and tie when it's 35 degrees, because the English summers are now apparently Spain. So it's just trying to create that, a really cool working place that's well respected, has a good reputation, and we can actually give back to the industry as opposed to what recruiters are known for, which is take. So my role at Trident is, as well as being co-founder with Charlie, I run the CPTIA team. So I'm kind of like that player coach kind of role where I still recruit, I still speak to clients, I still headhunt candidates and find them new career positions. Yes, I then lead the team. I'm building the team. I do lots of the business operations, the marketing, the finance, the all the fun back end stuff, I suppose, the back office stuff. But yeah, majority of my day is spent speaking to clients, candidates, working with the team, training them, learning development, and trying to build the business. So yeah, the skills gap, the enigma, the myth. But I think there is a skills gap. First of all, just to address that, there's not a people gap. There's not a motivation or a want of people that want to be in the industry. But I think initially what we can look at and what we're seeing is becoming better and better and being introduced more now. Hiring managers are looking more so at the softer skills throughout the recruitment process, as opposed to what's on a CV, what technical skill sets do they have they been to university, and can they do X, Y, and Z? Whereas now we are trying to educate our clients to kind of look at it from, yes, they have the foundations that you need. They might not have everything, but can you have like the 70% fit? So you've got 30% of the job description that they can't do, but then that gives them 2-3 years to upskill into that. And also then you get to retain your staff for longer because they've got more room to grow. Whereas if you hire someone at 100% fit, you're probably going to take longer to try and find them because there's less people who are 100% fit. They're going to cost you a hell of a lot more. It's way more competitive. So they'll probably have 2-3 offers at the same time. And you're not going to keep them for that long because they'll be bored. So give them 6 months, they can do their job, and then it's just business as usual. So we recommend and educate around looking for the soft skills, which is a lot harder. That's sort of easier said than done because your CV doesn't tell someone what your soft skills are, so to speak, and how kind of malleable you are to personal development and growth and training. So utilize your recruiters to, I suppose, either we introduce something like a cover sheet on a CV as basic as this, but with like skills graphs. So you say to us, right, the top 5 skills, soft skills are X, Y, and Z. Can you rate them out of 10 based on a few questions in the conversation, the interview that we have? So then you start to build a picture in your head of that type of person before you've even spoken to them, as opposed to just a piece of paper. So looking at the softer skills I suppose, of the candidates during the recruitment process will help. Also introducing things like fixed training budgets. So we're seeing now more organizations are adding training budgets into the contract. So they might say, hey, your salary is X, your bonus is this, your benefits are this. Also, we're going to add $2.5 grand per year as a training allowance. And that's going to be in the contract, because far too often we see organizations will say, yeah, we train people. Of course we do. Personal development is great. But then what happens is everybody becomes too busy. 12 months goes by, the yearly reviews are here, and then there's been no room for training. So try and put a fixed training budget into the contract if possible, or at least fix time. It doesn't have to cost you, but some sort of time, whether it's a team training activity or a personal training activity or a certification or a course. I'd also look at, like, we're seeing more often now, companies are introducing things like academies. So internal academies, the HR or people kind of divisions are creating these like SOC academies or threat intel academies, whereby they have structured development plans for each person, and maybe even as a team as well, to get you kind of up to a certain level. So then again, you can hire someone who's got the 50, 60, 70% of the skills that you're looking for, but you know full well our training plan's so solid and it's pretty airtight, we're going to get them up to 100%, but it might take them 18 months, but then you've got someone for much longer. So try and look more so for the softer skills than just try and tick boxes on the degree, the certifications and stuff. I think for the industry generally, just generally across cyber, the demand's going to get greater for the resource, right? So more and more organizations now are adopting cybersecurity measures and controls policies, and they're therefore also looking at service providers and also an in-house team. If that's going to continue to grow, and it is a super buoyant market, the demand for the skills are going to increase. So how do we, I suppose, address that? It's looking at the very ground level, the foundational level. I'm not talking about grassroots universities and schools and stuff, because that's a whole nother conversation, but looking at if we can bring these people in at 50, 60, 70%, in 18 months time, when the demand keeps growing, these people will be that top tier of professionals where the skills gap genuinely is. And hopefully you should have them in your team. So we're seeing a greater demand at the moment in technical threat intelligence analysts and consultants. And what I mean by technical is, I suppose it's twofold really. The industry is very mature in the sense of geopolitical intelligence professionals, right? Ex-military, law enforcement, agency world, very traditional intelligence as we know it, who have then all upskilled in cybersecurity. But where I believe the industry is lacking, and conversations I'm having with hiring managers all the time, is technical analysts that come from either infrastructure or networking background, so your IT engineers who have kind of transferred into CTI or kind of career changed, so to speak. And then the other side of the technical capability, which is things like more the codey programming background. So we're looking at Python. So your analysts can build things like web spiders and scrapers to collect that data. But then also other skill sets around like SQL to kind of interrogate that data and make sense of it. And like almost like a data analyst. I think we're going to see more threat intel professionals become that kind of techie data analyst, I suppose, mindset to what do we do with all that data and how we make sense of it. Because at the moment, the data is only going to get bigger, right? The data set's going to get larger. Database is going to get more complicated. And for an analyst to be able to contextualize that into something that's relevant and actionable and can be used by the client, it needs to be interrogated. So yeah, I think we're going to see more and more analysts come from the kind of infrastructure, networking, IT background. And then we're going to see more and more come from the kind of computer science, codey, kind of Python, SQL, scripting background, just to kind of complement what we've already got in the industry. So why did I become CPTIA? Well, why did I get my CPTIA qualification? I think it comes back to what I mentioned about why we started Trident Search, to have super technical recruiters who know their market to a certain degree. Now, I'm not an analyst in front of a computer all day looking at a platform to try and create reports for clients, but I wanted to try and kind of get into that kind of mindset and into the life of an analyst, because if I'm talking to them all the time, I wanted to understand when, one, they're trying to pull the wool over my eyes with what they do in terms of tool sets and technical capabilities, but also be able to talk to the clients saying, hey, I know X, Y, Z, X candidate can do or use the cyber kill chain for this, or they, in the life cycle, they work in this part specifically because they do this. So I wanted to really kind of, I suppose, just upskill and just a general interest. And I really like threat intel. So, and I love the fact of how proactive it is and how it's, I suppose, such a benefiting factor into the cybersecurity community, sort of holistically. How did I study for it? Lots of advice, lots of help from people. I used the syllabus provided on the website. I broke it down into kind of stages. And on those stages, I said, right, the reading materials, out of those kind of documents and pamphlets and YouTube videos, what can help me with that part of the syllabus? And just lots of late nights. I would find something like the kill chain, or I'd find something like the micro attack framework, and I wouldn't understand it or how it'd be attributed to real daily life or the workings of an analyst. So I'd ask the analyst, how do you use the frameworks, or why would you use that tool? What's that used for? And tell me like kind of how it integrates into like creating a report for a client, for example. I think also just about the benefits of having the exam. it allows me to also give advice to candidates who are looking to sit the exam as to why they would, do they go for the practitioner level or registered, depending on what experience they have. So yeah, I think, and it helps me then train our team internally, so our threat intel team. And we're looking at putting some of our team on the CREST practitioner this year. So yeah, it'll give me some insight into how they can best study for it. Resources in the industry, there's obviously a lot out there, but specifically to threat intel, take a look at our YouTube page, Trident Talks. If you want to we interview industry leaders and just kind of get an insight into their brain, their company, or what they do, what they look for when they are hiring, and just general tips. And it's just, yeah, some good, cool stories on there. Of course, the CREST YouTube channel, lots of interviews from very, key leaders in the industry, looking at things like I encourage our team to do, which is sign up to the threat intel providers, kind of weekly reports, monthly reports. A lot of it's free. So, and again, I read one yesterday, and it just gives you a real layman's terms of what's going on out there, who's being hacked, who got breached, why, what kind of threat actors are out there, and just it helps just starting to get familiar with the terms and different APT groups and their kind of TTPs and things like that. So yeah, sign up to them, join all the different groups, lots of resource in these different groups.